Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Monday Night Ignite. This is the business section, 8 p.m. Eastern, whatever times it is for everybody else, every Monday through December. So we're excited. If we have a holiday or something, we'll make sure that's posted as well. All of the recordings you can find in Splash. The Facebook page is called Young Living, what is it? Splash YL Lifestyle. So that's a public group that anyone can be in, and there's all the recordings for all the Monday Night Ignite calls for over a year are located there. If you want that list for your own group, just paste copy it and share it into your own space as well. And we just thank you for coming on here tonight. Okay, Lori Borre is going to be speaking to us tonight. This is a recording that her and Aaron were doing right before the Believe conference just a couple of weeks ago, but it's so important and so many of us need it. And even though it's a recording, it's worth listening to and watching. So she is talking about enrolling magic. And it says, but what do I say? Which is always the $1,000 question. Everyone was like, what do I say to these people? How do I approach the situation when it comes to essential oils? I do like how she teaches because she's pretty straightforward and very practical and is like, what's the problem? Let's just go do this, right? So she does get into, most of the time it's our own fears or inhibitions that prohibit us from asking these questions because we're worried or afraid about something when really there is nothing to be worried or afraid about. So that's even more exciting. So let me just get this set up for you real quick and we'll get going. Full screen. Can you see that good, Pam? Say what? Yeah. Okay. Oh, let me get this full screen. How do I do this? Oh, this way. Here we go.
Good noon. Good noon, everybody. Here we are. And I'm going to just shoot the breeze for a couple of minutes to get everybody a chance to pop on. And I will do part two. Last time, I am feeling way better than I sound. Thank you for asking. Hi, Teresa from Kentucky. Life without my essential oils and my Ningxia Red. And truth be told, if I had to just pick one product, it would be Ningxia Red. I don't know what I would clean my house with. Like, would I just sprinkle the Ningxia on a rag and go for it? Like, what would you do? What would you do if you had to do that? Oh, and one more thing I'm going to give a plug-ola for to give Facebook a chance to tell everybody I'm here. And that is and then I will come on and we will talk about this. The Believe event. Oh, you guys. Create and craft the ultimate speaking lineup. Who would I choose? Oh, let me think. Aaron Rodgers, Bethany Shipley, Edie Wadsworth, Tom Reed, Jody McKenna. Yeah, that's who I'd be picking. And so I based on what you believe. So how you say it changes everything. Have you ever had one of those days where you're ticking the boxes and you're like phoning it in? You ever had one of those days? Are those the days you're just enrolling people right and left? Nope. Was that the class where you're just enrolling people? No. The one where you really believe it and you're all in and out of the passion of your heart, you're speaking. Those are the classes where you're enrolling people. Those are the reels that get traction. Those are the conversations that bear fruit in the end. Right? Oh, I love your I believe. Yes. Yes, I believe. So don't underestimate it. And there is confidence in that just bubbles from you when your mind is meditating on the incredible products that we have and how you have used them. And if you don't have any stories yet, it's because you haven't used enough. So you've got to get in there and be a product of the product, because you will never, write this part down, you will never overcome an objection with somebody else that you have not personally overcome. And you will never overcome a hurdle with a fellow business builder, somebody in your organization that you have not personally overcoming your own thinking. See, when somebody speaks to you out of the abundance of their lack of belief, and they say something like, the problem is they're so expensive. If in your heart of hearts, you believe that too, when they say to you, well, the problem, Lori, is they're too expensive, you're going to go, yeah. Like, you won't know what to say. So do you see how, but Lori, what do I say? All has to do with what you really believe, not what you say you believe, but what you really believe. So use more stuff. Okay. Let me tell you a story. Some of you may have heard this, but it's one of my favorites. So once upon a time, there was a very complicated factory that was very important. And they suddenly, inexplicably just shut down. Nothing worked. And all of their employees were just standing around doing nothing. Nobody was working. They were losing money, hand over fist, and nobody could figure it out. And finally, somebody called an expert, and the expert walked in and he looked around the factory, and then he pulled out a screwdriver and he stuck the screwdriver in. Sorry, I got my pen. He stuck the screwdriver in and he twisted that screw a quarter of a turn. And everything started working again, and everything was magical, and all of the employees could work again, and they could produce their product again, and everybody was so happy. And then he sent them the bill. And the bill was, hey Aaron, the bill was $10,000. And they're like, wait, what? He only put in 5 minutes of work. How could that be $10,000? And so they sent the bill back to him, and they said, would you please itemize this bill? And so he itemized the bill and he returned it to them. And the itemization of the bill was $1 for turning the screw, $9,999 for knowing which screw to turn. You see, sales is all about in here. It's doing the work before you're standing in front of somebody, so that you're not like, you ever felt like that? I have. When something new hits, I'm like, oh, I've never heard that one before. What do I say? And then the panic comes. You didn't probably, just thinking about it, you didn't see my face is turning red. I'm about to have a hot flash or something, thinking about the panic that happens when you haven't heard that one before. And you don't know them well enough, and you don't know what to say to that. Right? It's all about the internal work. And we've talked before about memorize one thing and then go from there, because we have the bell curve, right? So saying the same thing to all of the different people in there is not going to work as well, but it will work for some of them. So you definitely want to say something, but how do you know what to say, Lori? That's all the mindset work. So I just don't want you to underestimate that. You do the work before that, so that the words are on your lips. All right. We talked last time about you are in sales. I want you to receive that. Does everybody receive that you are in sales? Tell me, yes, I'm in sales. Put it in the comments. Hair calls are sales. Working with your leaders is sales. You're selling them on the power that you see in them, the potential that you see in them. You're selling them on themselves. Do you remember that people buy you? They don't even buy the oils, really. They buy you. They buy your confidence, and they buy your trust and your credibility. Do they trust you? Do they know you? Do you seem like you've got it together? People will purchase more just on your say-so. What is the process? The process of the sales is, number one, you get around the people, build your trust and credibility. Number two, you find the need. Number three, you fill the need. Number four, you close the deal. People say, well, what about objections? Objections is just another trip through that, right? You're just finding out exactly what they are objecting to. And then you are targeting, all right? So Lori, then what do I say? I remember one time when I was just starting out, and I was enrolling a bunch of people, and like random people. And my upline called me and she said, what do you even say to people? I said, I don't know. Because back then I was in unconscious competence. So the answer to what do I say is it depends. It depends on what? It depends on their level of awareness. It depends upon their color. It depends upon their belief systems. It depends upon the need. Do you receive that if you can increase your skill set, you can target what you say to what they need to hear? You see, that's what we want to do because that is service. So of those 4 things, get around the people, find the need, fill the need, close the deal, which is the most important? It's number 2. You accept that people are everywhere, right? Why aren't we, therefore, enrolling people everywhere? Or at least getting them on our list and beginning the process of the relationship and of understanding what they need. Why aren't we doing that? Jackie Long is an executive in my organization, and she says something that is really profound. She says, this business is built on eye contact and conversations. Yes. If you're at the Lowe's, are you in a hurry to get out the door? When somebody's telling you that you smell good and you must use essential oils? Or are you willing to make eye contact and have conversations with people and connect with people? So of those 4, which is the most important? Number 2, finding the need. If somebody is saying to you, I love your stories, but the oils are too expensive, what's that tell us? That tells us that you're not finding the need. You're passionate and you're wonderful and you're telling stories and you're a product of the product. But if you're not telling a targeted story, then the story might fall flat and people might stop listening. And so I'm not telling you not to tell your stories. Please don't call Mary and say, Lori says not to tell her stories. I'm telling you it matters which story you tell. And I will teach you how to tell the story. So when people say to me, but Lori, what do you say? What do I say? The answer is, that is the wrong question. Does anybody know what the right question is? Type it in there if you know what the right question is. It's not what do I say? It's what do I, all right? The power of questions. You all, he who asks the questions controls this conversation. We call this ask aggressive, not tell aggressive. Tell aggressive is telling everything that you know. And it sets this up. Well, I think the essential oils are the answer to all of your problems. Well, I've tried essential oils and they don't work. Well, that's because you haven't used Young Living. Well, there's no difference between Young Living. I read on the internet that blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah? Well, I visited farms. Have you visited? See, that's not what we want. You want to ask so many questions that you know exactly what this person needs, what's important to them, what makes them tick. Ask questions. Sometimes you're asking the question, and we talked about this before, not because you need to know the information, but because they need to hear themselves say it. Okay, so how do you ask questions? Ford, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. You ask about that. And not like a ping, ping, ping. You want to have a conversation. So it's the throw and the catch. You catch the ball by saying something about what they have said, and then you toss the ball back with a question without taking a breath in between. We talked about this with the Uber. So the Uber driver says, are you in town for a convention? And you say, I am in town for convention. How long have you driven for Uber? You say, you just boop, right there. Somebody says, oh, you smell good. Do you use essential oils? You say, I sure do. Do you use essential oils? Right back at them. So you got to think on your feet. You got to have those questions ready to go. Hi, my name is Lori. It's so nice to meet you. Do you live around here? Do you come here often? How you doing? No, I'm kidding. All right. Another way to ask questions. She was not in until I mentioned the effect of air fresheners on her dogs. Oh, yes. Colette, You are a rock star. You exactly married the story to the concern. Yes. Next way to ask questions is to say, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. Just keep saying, tell me more about that. Next way to ask questions is to repeat the last 3 words that somebody said. What do you mean by that? I was talking with Bethany Shipley and she said, okay, so tell me about this technique. And I said, tell me something you're passionate about. She said, well, I've got kids. I said, you have kids? She said, whoa. See, it just keeps people talking. If you can just get people talking, they will tell you absolutely everything you need. And then I'm just going to throw this in. Sometimes there is power in not having the answer right now. There is a lot of power in the follow-up. The fortune is in the follow-up. To text them later or message them later and say these words, write this down. I was thinking about our conversation and you mentioned this. And then you're going to close them. I teach classes on Tuesdays. Would you be willing to come? Or if I sent you a video about that I came across, would you watch it? Or I think I have some ideas that might help you.
Alex calling you about the car?
Who? Would
Alex?
you like to have coffee on Tuesday? Have tea, whatever, right? Okay. So the last 3 words, just get them talking. Another thing that helps them to know that you are listening is it seems like, it sounds like, wow, it seems like your family is really important to you. It sounds like you've tried a lot of different things. Do you see how people feel heard when you do that? So you would marry that with a question. It sounds like you've tried a lot of different things. What if they told you is the end result of this? Okay. And then of course, mirroring. If we have time, I'll tell you about mirroring later, but I'm trying to get a lot of content into about 45 minutes so that we can take questions at the end. Passive aggressive is where you can put just about anything you want to say into the form of a question, and it makes people think. So if somebody's telling you all of their situations, you can say, do you want it to stay like that? Now that's a jarring question, isn't it? Do you want to keep that? So suppose they're telling you all of their financial woes and you say, do you want it to stay like that? See, they have not considered that there might be something else besides a job that they can do that could change absolutely everything. And it just puts that question in their mind. What do you mean? I don't have to be a victim to this my whole life? No, you don't. Do you see how it sets them up and prepares them for the story? Do you want to keep that? And smells pretty. Maybe I should use more. How about this one? What have you got to lose? Now, Teresa, you asked a really good question. Yes, I've heard salespeople say that you should say, I feel like you're saying, I tend to not love saying, what I hear you saying is, or I feel like you're saying, because it turns it into what feels like a therapy session instead of just a friend listening. It feels like a negotiation where we're all laying our stuff on the table and I'm supposed to say,
what I hear you saying is that you feel unfulfilled when I say this. So that you know that I heard, so that we can come to a solution. Do you see? It just has a different flavor to me than if I just say, wow, it seems like you've tried everything. Oh, wow. It seems like your family is really important to you. That feels like I'm just listening. So, and the difference is the word I. What I hear you saying is, I don't tend to love that. So thank you for asking that. That was a really, really good question. Okay. What about this one? What have you got to lose? Like, if I've just given them a money back guarantee, and it's, well, I don't know, it's kind of expensive. And I'm like, what have you got to lose? Teresa, I'm glad to hear that that's how you felt when she said it. Yeah. Yeah. How about this one? Oh, wow. What have you tried? That one's beautiful. Because they can say, you know, if you've got a 6-month-old or a 2-year-old that's not sleeping, wow, what have you tried? Now you just open it up for them to say, I have tried this and 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 this, and nothing is working. You see how they are just walking themselves into, if there was a solution, I would try it. I've tried everything. Have you though? There's another question to ask. Have you though? It depends. You got to be careful, right? You don't want to look snarky, but there are times you can get away with it, especially depending upon their personality. Anything you want them to do, instead of telling them to do it, you can say, what does it look like to do this? Got that one from Eric Walton. He's amazing. Oh, if you haven't picked it up, I'm a professional collector of how people say things. And that's why I know things, because there's nothing new under the sun. And I've picked it up from other people. I'm just the one who remembered it and wrote it down. So do like Lori Borre, collect stuff. Here's another one. What's the alternative? What happens if you don't try something new? Here's another one. What if I told you and then you spill it? What if I told you that there isn't anything that you've said that I haven't heard stories about? What if I told you that? I don't know. What if you told me that? What are they going to say? I wouldn't believe you. You see, you got to set them up, got to get them thinking. Okay, here's a good one. And then what? I used to use this when I was talking to women about labor and about birth, like way before oils. And I'm trying to help women see that they have the power within them and that they don't necessarily need all of the testing. And so they would say, well, they want to do this test. And I would say, and then what? Well, I don't know. Well, if it's positive, then what? Well, I don't know. Well, it's negative, then what? Well, I don't know. You see, it gets them thinking. Because if the answer is something that they're not going to do anyway, then why bother with the test? Mm-hmm. See? So if they're giving you the litany of things and you say, and then what? Well, they want to do this and this and that, and then what? What would it look like to get a raindrop instead of all of that? Okay. What if I told you is a great question. What made you ask me? Somebody says to you, hey, I think I really need to talk with you about oils. What made you ask me? And what made you ask now? Those are good questions. Somebody said to me one time, it was a question. I can't remember who asked the question, but it was a brilliant question. She said that she's been so consistent with the oils that somebody in her life walked up to her after like 2 or 3 years or something and said to her, all right, why should I use your oils? What's the answer to that? The answer is because if you had seen what I'd seen, you would walk through a brick wall to get them. But what made you ask? What's going on with you that you decided to ask? Well, I was reading an article the other day and I saw this and this and that. Yeah, you see, you will know exactly where to land. No, those questions are not in my book. Y'all, if you don't have the book, you need the book, because usually when I talk, it's not stuff that's in the book, and there's stuff in the book that you're going to need. Yeah, why are you asking now? Okay. So you have asked the questions during your presentation or during your story, and a story is a presentation. This is where you're filling the need. Okay, so you're getting them into a class and you're doing a presentation, or you're just having coffee, or you're just having the conversation at your house with your girlfriend, or whatever it is. You are presenting. This is where you are filling the need. Here is a really important tip. Speak the hidden agenda. Write this down. Write it down. Write it down. Write it down. Write it down. Speak the hidden agenda. That means the elephant in the room. They're thinking something. And if you have asked enough questions, you know what they're thinking. And if you know about them, you know what they're thinking. You know the people who are going to write you an $800 check, or you're living in $800, or they're going to pull out their credit card because they need it. And when you say you want good, better, or best, they're going to say best because they actually want to change things. And you know the people that are going to have to sell furniture and have a garage sale if they want to buy the $165 kit. You know this stuff, right? You know what their objections are going to be. You know if they've tried other oils before. You know if they've tried everything natural. You know if they're married to their candles. Like, you know if they're penny pinchers. You know where they are in their level of understanding, and you are ready to present now. Speak the hidden agenda. Speak that elephant in the room that they're thinking before they say it, because then you look smart and you look like you are a mind reader. So if you know that price is important, when you tell your story, you are going to include in there how much money you have saved, and it blows you away. You just had no idea. And how happy your husband is about that. If you know, well, whatever, you don't need any more examples of that. You get it, okay? So you speak the hidden agenda. In your story, there are a couple of different kinds of stories. There's a business story and there's a personal story, or a product story. And I want to teach you how to do both of them. The business story, how to tell it, comes from Eric Worre. And I heard him in Hawaii and it was amazing. I'm sorry, no more coughing fits. Ran out of the it's not Living's fault. All right, number one, your background. I am a stay-at-home mom, or I am a nurse, or I was a teacher, or whatever it is. You just spell it. It's one sentence, not a big deal. Number two, the struggle that I had, or the dissatisfaction that I had with that. I loved being a mom. What I didn't love was raising 6 kids on one income. Even though my husband's an amazing provider, I didn't love that. I didn't love that there was no extra money for this or that, right? Or I love being a nurse. What I didn't love was being a part of the system. I didn't love that I was feeling like I was always giving things that were bad for them and that were working against their bodies. Or my background is that I'm a lawyer and I loved being a lawyer, but what I didn't love was that I was married to the desk 80 hours a week. I didn't love that. I didn't love always having to produce. Or I'm a stay-at-home mom and my husband is an incredible provider and we have absolutely everything we need and I never want for anything. What I didn't love is that I didn't have anything that was mine. I didn't have anything that I had built.
Everything was what he had done. And I felt a lack there and wanted to build something that I could say I had done. You see? Okay. So number 2 is what you didn't like about it. Number 3 is the solution. And the solution is always Young Living, whatever that looks like. And then number 4 is how I see the future, or what changed. So out of number 1, 2, and 3, and 4, what do you think is the most important? 1 being my background, I'm a nurse. What is the most important piece that you want people to think, oh, me too, me too? Or, oh, wow, yeah, I agree. Oh, yeah, wow. Ooh. Is it number 1, the background? Number 2, the struggle or the dissatisfaction? Number 3, the solution, which is you found Young Living. And number 4, how you see the future. Okay, Colette says the struggle. Teresa says number 2, the struggle, the dissatisfaction. 2, all the 2s coming in. I'm impressed, you guys. Well done. Yeah, it's number 2. How do a lot of people tell stories? Oh, I used to be a stay-at-home mom, but then I started Young Living, and now everything is amazing because I can take my kids on vacations, and you know, I was able to buy them bikes, and we can do sports now. They skipped number 2. Number 2 is what connects you to people. Number 2 is where they really get it. Nobody cares how successful you are if they don't know where you came from. Nobody cares how happy you are if they don't know how miserable you are. Nobody cares about the solution, because that just feels like sales, doesn't it? And I mean smarmy sales. So I'll tell you my story. So I was a stay-at-home mom after being a trainer and a consultant. I decided to have children, and we'd moved out to the farm. We had 6 kids, and we were raising them in 1,200 square feet with 80 acres. And I loved it. I loved everything about it, but I will never forget the summer of 2014. That was the summer that I put it together, like with my conscious mind for the first time. That while my husband was an amazing provider, the needs of a medically complex family, along with just life, meant that there would be no vacations. And we were renovating our dream house. And it dawned on me that renovation would never finish, that I was never going to have my family in that other house, that this was the house I was going to have them in. My kids had 1 pair of shoes and 2 pairs of jeans and 4 shirts. And there were no bikes, and there were no vacations, and there were no music lessons. And I was making sauerkraut to sell at farmers markets, because if I probably made like $2 a bottle on sauerkraut, and I figured I would pay my kids the $1, and then I could take $1, and that would help us to pay for our own sauerkraut habit. And I was learning all the things, and I was spending all of my time learning all of the things, and I just didn't see a way out. And that reality was really, really, what's the word I'm looking for? That reality landed hard. I didn't know what we would do for college if they wanted to go. And I didn't want my husband working any more hours because I wanted him home with us. But along about the same time, I discovered Young Living. And I just started telling people about Young Living because I couldn't help myself, because I wasn't a good person if I didn't tell people, because these oils were working and they were amazing, and everybody within 3 feet of me needed them. And then the paychecks started coming in. And I was stunned. I even called my pastor. You want to talk poverty mentality? I called my pastor and I said, Pastor, I got a paycheck. And he said, oh, okay. And I said, no, I don't think you understand. I would do this for free because I'd always helped people for free. I would help people birth their babies and nurse their babies and learn how to make sauerkraut and heal their kids and all kinds of things. Never charged for it. And he said, Lori, it's okay. Workman's worth his wages. And I said, well, okay, if you're sure. And my husband said, if you could just get the order paid for, that would really help the family budget. And I said, I think I can do that. And so I dug in and with passion, ran to silver, and then we ran to gold, and then we ran to platinum. And I thought that's impossible. And then we ran to diamond. And we finished the other house and we moved into it. And I took my kids on a trip to Alaska and another cruise. And then I took them on other vacations. And now we're renovating the little house that we lived in, the 1,200 square foot house. And that's going to be an Airbnb. And it never would have happened. And I am so grateful for Young Living. So that's my story. Do you care how grateful I am for Young Living if you didn't see how hard it was? Most people don't, because that's only natural. So you want to lean into the hard, okay? Product story. I learned this one from Bethany Shipley. Excuse me. I need another. Y'all have any idea what it's like to put your son through college because you can? Sorry, I'm back on that business story. Never thought. That bill would come in and I would just cut the check. Okay, product stories. Number one, who I am, I'm a whatever. Number two, what was wrong? A medically complex child. Number three, how I heard about Young Living. Number four, what I thought when I heard about Young Living. But I was at a vendor event and there was this woman standing there named Stacy, and she had this box of, I don't know, like oils, and she had this gorgeous diffuser going. And I thought, well, okay, that's crazy. It costs that much. So what I thought it's crazy that it costs that much. That's what I thought. What you're trying to get is everybody else to start with the me too's, me too, me too. Oh yeah. You see, this is where you're speaking the hidden agenda. You probably had 6 or 7 or 8 thoughts about Young Living when you first heard about it. If it just so happens that what you thought matches what you think they're thinking, you will be money ahead in how you tell your story. Okay, so what I thought was, that's crazy that it costs too much, but why I decided to try it anyway. What you're doing is mentally walking them through. Well, she tried it, maybe I could try it, and maybe it'll work for me because I'm sitting here thinking the same thing that she was thinking. I decided why I decided to try it. I decided that I had spent that much money doing things that were less potentially valuable and that I didn't have anything to lose. And so I tried it. And then number 6 is what I've learned. And number 7 is my view of the future. So number 6 would be, and I had no idea that I would be in my oils all day, every day, that they would change absolutely every area of my life. Being specific to what's going on with them is way even better. Okay, I'm just giving you generalities. And then the view of the future. So here's what I want to tell you. I'm sorry, I'm gonna
If you have a story for it, use somebody else's story. I know a woman who was dealing with exactly the same thing as you. And you just go through all of those steps. All right. So that's what you tell. And remember, what you're doing is matching the story to the person or the need, which you know because you have asked all the questions. Ask aggressive. Yep. Because facts tell and stories, what? Stories sell. All right. Now, regarding closing and buying signals, when people are asking how much it costs or they're saying it's expensive, that's a buying signal. What? Yes, because they're thinking through, would they do it? You see, they're trying to talk themselves into it. Those are buying signals. Somebody says, I need, I like, I want, that's a buying signal. Somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, I noticed that you were talking about this or that. That's a buying signal. Pay attention when people are buying and you want to close the deal. Now, I have a whole bunch of different closes in my book, but I want to talk about one in particular, and then we're going to take questions. And that is the I believe close. Friends, especially if, well, two places. Social media is an incredible place for I believe statements because it speaks your truth and it draws in your people, the people that want to be with you, the people who believe what you believe. You put it out there first, they think you're a rock star for saying it. But also, I believe statements are incredible when you are in a one-on-one conversation with people, you're looking them in their eye, and they are struggling to overcome their own belief systems, and you want to challenge those belief systems. You do it with I believe statements, and you could I believe yourself into the next millennium. I believe our bodies were designed by God to heal. I believe the answer might be right at your fingertips. I believe oils work. I believe I have saved thousands of dollars using essential oils. I believe that it's worth trying. I believe that our bodies, that genetics are not as important as epigenetics. I believe that we're not victims of our circumstances. And I believe that if nothing changes, then nothing changes. You see? Whatever belief system it is that you want to speak into existence and speak into their souls, start with the I believes. Okay? Now, I said we would talk about mirroring, but I want to leave a little bit of time for, I'll go ahead and do it. Mirroring. And then we'll leave 10 minutes for questions. Okay. Mirroring is a really, really, really good technique. Why? Because everybody's different. Back when I was a trainer and a consultant, it was common for my clients to say to me, oh, I think we're the same type. And they were talking about Myers-Briggs type indicator. And that's because I was pretty good at knowing what type they were and flexing, the word is flexing, your own personality to meet them where they are. Now, it would be more fun if everybody else would flex to how you want to say the information, wouldn't it? Reds, can we have a sit down on this for a minute? Everybody doesn't want to hear it the way you want to say it, Reds. You will be more successful if you will pay attention to how other people want to hear the information. If they're slow talking, slow it down a little bit. If they're fast talking, pick it up a little bit. If they're from the Northeast, give the facts first and save the fluff for later. If they're from the South, you better be all in on the fluff, bless your heart. You want to, it's like holding up a mirror and mimic, but not in a bad way, their voice tones, their speech patterns, their, what do you call that? Body language, right? If they're holding their head to the side, you hold your head to the side. Now, people who consider themselves to be empaths do this naturally. They do it without even thinking about it. Why? Because we have a thing in our head called mirror neurons. And mirror neurons, I wonder if I can find the picture of my daddy and my son with the mirror neurons. It's in the book. Mirror neurons are what you see at work and play when parents are talking to their newborn babies, and they're going, and the baby's going, and then they go, and the baby, right? See, we all have mirror neurons because people like people who are like they are. They trust people who are like they are. And so you can build oodles of trust and credibility without even saying a word. If you will just pick up on their body language and their voice tone and mirror it back to them. Oh, yes, you need to go to Lowe's. Oh, yes. I can tell you how many prospects I met at the Lowe's. Here it is. There's a picture of my daddy and my son. Can you see that? Mirror neurons. Guys, it's not manipulative. It's relationship. Okay. And while I'm on the topic of that, let me give you one more. Eye contact. Just make eye contact with people. You would be surprised how you can make a connection with somebody just by holding the eye contact. And if they make eye contact back, they want to play. They want to talk. They're your people. You see how that goes? And if they don't, then they don't. Bye. Oh, Colette, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to hear that. All right, guys. I have talked for a long time. This was much more than a TED Talk. TED Talk is 20 minutes. So if you have any questions, hit me with your best shot. And if not, I'm going to go use a little bit more myrtle, a little bit more frankincense, and save my voice for Believe. Oh, Aaron, I'm so excited. Type them out, type really fast. I'll tell you this though. Sometimes when people ask me questions, if this is the never going to happen and this is I'm buying everything, they all ask me about these. Because they think that I have some magical one thing that you say, okay, Lori, hit me with it. What's the one magical close that's going to work 88, 99, 100% of the time? There isn't one. Thank you all. Thank you for saying I'm awesome. I'm learning every day, and I'm just being a vessel, what does Melissa call it? There really are consequences to being in a car accident, you guys. Center of distribution. I'm just being a center of distribution. I promise you, you learn it better if you teach it to others. So really, go practice this stuff and then teach your team. It'll change everything. I don't have a PDF of the curve. I ought to. It's in the book. It's in the book, but it's not hard to memorize, right? It's just a bell curve. And on one side is people who, you know, it's not clean unless they're using their bleach. And on the other side is the people who've been pinning things and looking for a Young Living rep because they want to get a kit. Oh, thank you, Tina. I can't wait to see you on Monday. All right. Where do you buy the book? Aaron Rodgers has a store. Get it from Aaron Rodgers. Yes. And after you get it from Aaron Rodgers, leave a review on Amazon. Thank you. I hope I made them easy for you.
Okay, you guys, amazing. I do love Lori Borre, and once again, her directness. It's too bad she was not feeling well, and she still needs prayer for her she was in a car accident, if you didn't know. So she's still recovering from that. It was a pretty bad car accident. So I was just speaking to her a second ago. So if you can always do that for her. And these calls, once again, will be on the Splash Young Living. Oh my gosh, I just forgot it. Let me tell you real quick, hold on. The recordings will be on Splash YL Lifestyle. And let me just paste copy this back in this chat right here. And we'll have all the links that for the first call as well. And Aaron Rogers' website is the Orly Supply Store. And then also Lori Borre's book is on Amazon. So that's called The Harvest: Service Driven Sales in a Me Driven World by Lori Borre. And if you don't know, it's Borre for Borre. So I'd like to thank you so much for this call. Please join us again next week. Health will be at 7 p.m. Eastern and business will be at 8 p.m. Eastern. And thank you for coming to the Monday Night Ignite calls. Have a good night, everybody.